Hey there, welcome back to the offshift podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Trucks. And as always, we have an amazing guest for you. Today's guest is a former co-founder of Match.com, which you probably know about, but also a new company called BabyClip. Her name is Fran Maier. Now, Fran has gone through a journey of becoming what she calls a pretty much a super founder. She's done some cool things in the world and made some amazing, like world-changing businesses. And she's on to something with this new one. Today, we unpack not just the brand and the company, but also the thought process behind it. So if you're a person that's entrepreneurial or you want to create some idea of do something cool with the world, we unpack a little bit of that. Like, what do you do when you have to navigate hardships? What are the things that she did differently than most people to bring an idea to the world that somebody else might have already had? Because that's a separator. It's not just what you know, but what you do with what you know. And a lot of people get stuck at certain points, but she understood how to navigate those points, and she talks about that. So as you kind of dig into that, I want you to start thinking about, man, if I'm trying to create something, this is a person that has done this on many levels and is actually continuing to do it, and you can learn something amazing from her. So that's it. Tune in, and let's get to the episode. Hey, welcome back after the little intro. We are here with, as I told you before, Fran Maier. So, hey, Fran, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Anthony?
I'm doing very well. I'm not going to lie. I had a good weekend. This is going to be a hectic week I have ahead of me. However, it's all good stuff. It's those things that I do that I enjoy. So I'm glad that you're doing as good as I am.
Great.
And
Great to be here.
we're going to rock and roll. So this is how I typically every time I start the podcast with one question. You could take it wherever you want to take it. And it's the fun thing is I get to see what your mind is thinking in real time. But here's the question. I'm walking around town. I go to some coffee shop. You're sitting there. I don't know you. And I sit down next to you. And for some reason, you feel compelled to speak to me. In your opinion, why should I listen to you?
Oh, well, because I'm a fun conversationalist.
Okay. I'm
And
getting
I'd
one.
probably ask you what you've been up to and what you're doing. And then you'd probably ask me what I've been up to, what I've been doing. And I'd probably eventually get around to that I'm CEO of BabyClip and we're a startup and we help families have a better vacation.
Oh,
And
nice.
then I'd
How long?
ask you if you have any kids.
Oh, I
Because if
do.
you had any kids, then I would say, oh, well, we could help you with that.
You probably could because my wife's been the travel agent for like the last, I don't know, 18 years of our life, 20 years probably.
How old are your children now?
My oldest is 18. He's in college and he's a freshman there. And then my twins are 13. So we're past the baby age. However,
Oh,
we
you
still
are,
travel.
but you remember,
Oh, I do. It's
especially
crazy.
with twins.
Oh, it was nuts. We had at one point, I think we were like moving to and from a different country, and just like this bags upon bags, and then car seats, and it's just nuts. And then twins
It's
in an airplane
crazy.
is never fun. It's crazy. So how'd you get into BabyQuip? Like before we get into what it is, now let's scratch that. If you were to break down BabyQuip in its basics of what it is, and then I want to know how you came to it.
Okay, so BabyQuip is the largest baby gear rental and delivery service in the United States, Canada. We're also in Mexico, some of the Caribbean, Australia, New Zealand. So we're really expanding. And we're kind of like the Airbnb of baby gear. So we have over 1,400 people. They're mostly moms who own baby gear, and they are the ones who deliver it to families who are traveling to their local area. Okay, so now this isn't moms renting just their extra crib or car seat or stroller. Most of these moms are building real inventory of strollers, car seats, cribs, toys, baby monitors, all kinds of things. And because they're moms, they get a lot of gratification from serving other families who are trying to have a good vacation. And lugging all that baby gear is just super hard and inconvenient. And, the delight of kids seeing a whole new set of toys is very exciting to them. So, yeah, so it's a two-sided marketplace. We're the platform. BabyQuip is the one who connects the parents to the providers, and parents can choose amongst providers in their destination. So they can choose somebody who's closer, somebody who has that particular piece of gear, let's say a snoo, which is a smart bassinet. And of course, at the end, they could leave a tip and leave a review, and that's how it works.
I get it. That's super cool. It's funny I was a kid with kids. I think my first child was born. I was 20, 21 or 20, just about to turn 21. And
Wow.
so like I was a
Okay.
kid lugging the same stuff around. I'd baby, lugging out my gear and my backpack and all my luggage. And I had the stroller and you had the car seat because there wasn't a bunch of, we'll call it ready to pack type stuff back then. So I like this idea. How long has BabyQuip been around? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, no, we launched in May of 2016.
Okay.
And back to your original question, I had finished my fourth startup sometime in 2012. And between 2012 and 2016, I got on the Airbnb craze. So I bought a house in San Francisco and was renting rooms on the top floor of my house. And when I traveled the whole house, and then I went to Santa Fe, where I grew up, my hometown where my mom was at the time, and bought a couple of vacation rentals there. And I started to think about, how is it that travel is changing, this whole short-term rental thing, but also how is work changing? Because now I didn't have a 9 to 5 job. I was running these properties. I had a gig job. And I met somebody here in Santa Fe who was doing a baby gear rental business. And we connected and joined forces in May. And we launched pretty much immediately on that first platform. Now, it's almost 7 years later. We survived the pandemic. In fact, we were on Shark Tank on March 20th. I'm sorry. We were on Shark Tank on March 6th, 2020. Think about that date. And we were expecting our business to just totally take off. But of course, something called the pandemic came in. And, but hey, we're still standing. We're stronger than ever. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
I like that. And so what was the odd shift? Because I get the idea. What was the odd shift moment? I always look at that all of a sudden made you go, I'm going to kick off this thing. And then how'd you get things like moving? Because in my head, I'm like, how would I get a database and build a group of people who are willing to lend their children's stuff to other people? And then someone else to go, I'm going to trust that someone else's stuff's going to work for my kid.
Yeah. So we've worked really, really hard on it. Can you remind me the first part of your question?
No, I was going to say, like, what was the first I called the odd shift moment that
Oh,
allowed you to go,
the oh shucks.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
basically for me, so I had already been an Airbnb host and I knew I did not want to store, clean, or provide the range of gear that I was seeing that families were traveling with. And I had a few families bring babies and there was no way that I wanted to do this. So when I saw this, idea of baby gear rental, honestly, Anthony, one of the first things I did was to try and take a look. Was there anybody doing this at any sort of scale with
Mm,
any sort of brand? And all I found was really some small regional players and a bunch of mom and pops, especially around like Disneyland or Disney World or, in Hawaii and things like that. So I saw that nobody had the intention to build a national brand. I think another aw shucks for me, and maybe you remember American Idol or maybe some of these
mhm,
other songs, they
mhm,
ask, sometimes a singer will sing a song and the feedback will be, that song just isn't a fit for you, right? Good
mhm.
song, but didn't really display what you know how to do. Well,
Yeah.
when I saw the idea, the vision for BabyQuip, I knew how to build trusted brands. I had done it with Match or Match.com in the mid 90s. And I knew that in this category, we needed to create a trusted brand because we're dealing with kids and babies. So one of the first things that I looked into and something that we offer that's really important is liability insurance. So if something were to happen to the property or God forbid the baby, and I'm knocking on wood, nothing has ever happened. We needed to make sure that families and our quality providers would be protected. And so getting insurance was really critical. And to get insurance, that meant we needed to know every piece of inventory that was aimed at the baby so that if it was on a recall list or in some way deemed unsafe, we could pull it and it couldn't be rented. It also required us to get background checks on all of the quality providers. And we do, and now we have a whole range of things that we call trust and safety that really give both our quality providers and our customers' parents a lot of peace of mind that they're on clean and safe gear. We train our quality providers on cleanliness, safety, and then hospitality and social media and stuff like that. So that's how we've done it. We are still the only national brand. We're in becoming a global brand.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it was babies all over the world, so I think we kind of need that, right?
Yeah,
It's kind
yeah,
of
for
cool.
sure.
And it's interesting because I get why I don't know about it because I wasn't in that world. But had I been in that world, like it's a super simple and clean idea. Because I'm like, gosh, one of those ones where I think the best ones are like, why didn't I think of that?
Oh,
Why
we
didn't I?
hear that all the time. All the
Yeah.
time people say, or they say that they thought of it. And I guess that gets to the same thing. I've been, some would call a serial entrepreneur or a super founder. And what it comes down to is I kind of knew what my song was, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I knew I could do a marketplace business because I've done it before. And I think what holds up many people from being an entrepreneur and starting something is they start to think about the objections way ahead of the
Yeah.
how to. And those
Mhm.
objections can really scare you off.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's a big piece of it too, because in my head I go, well, a lot of people have great ideas, but a lot of ideas don't come to light, and one of
Yeah,
the separations between someone that goes, it's a good idea. Can I do it? Oh, I don't know how to do this or this or this, and I never will know. I'm not going to take an action. And then someone like
right.
yourself goes, like, I got this idea. I don't know 100% how I'm going to do it, but I know I can figure it out. And
Yeah, well,
so,
and
yeah,
I'm also fortunate, I've been in Silicon Valley. Right now I'm in Santa Fe, but I've been in Silicon Valley for most of my career. I
yeah,
knew people who would be interested in seed funding us,
mm, mhm,
and I have a good network among investors as well as advisors. So,
yeah,
plus I was able to take, I didn't pay myself for a while as well,
that makes sense.
so
Yeah.
that's lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but you also I wouldn't call it luck. You built something previously, allowed you to have that situational we'll call it a situation for your life that could fund this new idea and build it up. If you were to break down like because as I hear you talking this, I think to like the person who listens to this podcast. Typically, it's a person that goes, "I want to create and do something at a bigger level. I want to have that off shift moment. It's amazing for myself." What would you call, let's say, three-ish steps that you could think of that are maybe the ones that you lean into when it comes to taking an idea to the world? Because a lot of people, like you said, got decent ideas, but never take it to the world. If we say the first one is getting over that idea of it's not going to work out, like how would you navigate the next few steps to get it live?
Yeah, well, I think really, a lot of this is business 101, okay? But it's surprising how many people don't necessarily go through all the steps. One is, what is the problem you're solving or you're trying to solve?
Hmm.
And for us, carrying all that bulky baby gear is impossible, right?
Yeah,
Um, and who is the target market? And really, really understanding who you are selling this solution to. And a lot of times people do it way too broadly, right? So in our case, they might say parents. Well, no, it's got to be parents with small children with disposable income who like to go on vacation and make memories, you know,
hmm,
that
yeah,
kind of thing. You've
hmm,
got to refine it. And then you've got to think about, okay, there's your target. There's a problem. What are the aspects of the solution? What are the unique selling proposition?
yeah,
The unique benefits that you can bring. And then, of course, you have to think about how are you going to reach those people. And that is daunting because it takes years. I mean, I think at this point, BabyQuip is known to, I'm going to guess, and I don't have anything precise, maybe
mm,
25% of our target market. Now, actually that's a lot. I doubt that we're quite there. It takes time. They've
yeah,
got to hear the message and see it again and again and again. They've got to
yeah,
have people who are tell you about it. You got to get that word of mouth. You got to get
yeah.
that organic going. But that's why Shark Tank was so exciting for us and why we love to do podcasts with people like you.
That makes sense. Yeah, get the name out. I mean, there's obviously people that are
Yeah,
listening have
takes a
children.
lot.
I'm in an anomaly where I'm not even 40 yet, but I have an 18-year-old. Like that's not a typical
Yeah, I
age of
figured
doing.
that out. Yeah. Well, and on a marketplace business, it's not just the customer. You have to, consider the supply. So
Yeah,
there's, and for us, we really focus on that target too. It's mostly moms who are looking for a side gig, maybe want something they could do with their own kids,
Mhm.
and gives them some gratification.
Yeah.
So I'm just thrilled with our community of quality providers. They just
Okay.
love doing this.
So it's not even always about just renting what you have. It sounds like some people, it's like if you did, I've seen people with Airbnb, they go, I'm going to get a fleet of cars. I'm going to have these drivers and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy the car for them. So they're going to, pay me. So like they get a little bit of profit off of somebody using their asset, right? So is it kind of like some
Right.
people go, let me buy 5 strollers and I'll get set up and they can like kind of run their own side
Yeah,
business?
most of our quality providers have multiple cribs, car seats,
Mm,
strollers. Now, it's a lot easier to get multiple strollers and car seats than it is multiple houses or multiple cars.
true. Yes. Yeah.
Sto-
I,
Storage is the big issue for many of them. They get to a certain size and their garage is packed full of baby gear.
yeah.
And then they have to decide, do I want to, rent off-site storage or add to my garage? And,
Yeah. That's interesting. I
they're
mean, it's
making
really,
good money.
yeah, it sounds like they're making good money. What are some of the hidden pitfalls that we don't see? Because I always look at ideas and I go, man, when we see it like 6 years down the line, like we do now, it's running smooth. What were some of the things that you ran into that you had to climb and it was a battle for you? What are the unseen
Well,
struggles?
let's face it, the pandemic trumps all, right? When we were looking at declining, not just declining orders, but having to refund orders in March and April of 2020, that was super painful. And I wasn't sure that we were going to make it. Fortunately, I had raised some money, and then of course we got government money, which I've never had in my entire life. So that was pretty exciting. So that was big. I think getting the insurance really was a big lift. Um, and not only a big lift to qualify, but the premiums are super expensive. Um, and then raising money can still be difficult. Women have a more difficult time, even somebody like myself with a lot of experience. It's still hard to raise money because most of the people who are writing checks are men, and they don't always get the problem or the solution or understand how much more intricate it is than it might seem. So, that could be hard. And now that we're expanding, go ahead. Now that we're expanding internationally, not every place is like the United States. So, for example, we've recently expanded into Australia, and Australia is a fairly well-to-do country, and their middle-class moms can afford to buy baby gear, right? But Mexico, it's a different demographic altogether. So, we're looking at some of these challenges when we go into new markets.
And when those things take place, how much of I think you alluded to earlier, mentioned that you had advisors. How many of these ideas do you sit in like your own little mind and go, okay, here's the way I'll do it and present it? Or do you always bring other people in whenever you have these sticking points?
No, a lot of them I deal with on my own, but
Yeah.
I have a good team and we talk through things. And Um, this week I'm putting together my investor letter, highlights of 2022. And I always have to remind myself to put in some good asks. Hey, I
Mm,
need to hire this person. I need intros here. What do you think about this? So I throw it out there.
yeah.
I mean, I have some advisors, legal advisors, finance advisors that I probably hit up a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm always like the role of CEO is an interesting one, right? Because as far as someone one time told me, I was like a podcast guest I had on, like yourself, and it said CEO has one job, and then for him the job essentially is like the visionary, the create, like the one that comes with the idea and then disseminates it and says, "Make this come to life." Right? When you do
Yeah,
what you do, is that
I've heard other definitions. CEOs have to keep the lights on. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, true.
you got
Mhm.
to make sure that you have enough money in the bank to keep everybody up. Certainly, I agree with the vision thing, but hopefully you've got that vision well understood within your organization, so you're not the only one carrying that ball.
Okay, I like that. So that's a question I always wonder is like, how to get everybody else to pull in the same direction? Because sometimes people come on. In my experience of other companies, I've been the CEO of. I'm not a CEO of a company like yours by any means. More just my business and my brand, my company. Getting the people within to pull in the same direction, right? Because I may have a vision, an idea. I learned early on, if I don't give it to them and have them embody it, then I'll find months down the road, sometimes years, we were kind of pulling in different directions. And the farther you go, the farther you see the separation between the ideas. How do you see, like when you first get started and bring people on, how do you, we'll call it, enroll them in the mission, the vision, the idea of what's being put forth?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And we spend a lot of time on culture and we spend a lot of time on brand.
Mhm.
So one of the things I probably should have mentioned earlier is I want to create a national brand. The name that we were at the beginning was Baby Airge,
Okay.
sort of like baby concierge. Great
Mhm.
concept, but I could never get my mother to pronounce it correctly. And spelling that is really, could be really hard. So when we went through a naming, I think we started working on our brand and our brand values really early on. And what's interesting about an internet company with a big community is you get hints about what your brand's about from your community of users and from your community of suppliers. And so it can't be completely a top down thing. You have to kind of start to listen to what is your community saying. Way back at Match in the mid 90s, our three bywords were safe, anonymous, and fun. Because it was a really big deal to have safety in the early days of online dating. In BabyQuip, we do talk a lot about clean, safe, insured, but also we have brand values about family first and helping people enjoy the journey and accountability, and those kinds of things make a difference as well. So every year we take a look at our business and we take a look at our brand and we take a look at the feedback we've been getting, and we might refine our brand values and our brand voice. But so
Gotcha.
far it's held pretty steady.
I like that. I work sometimes at Amazon. I got some clients over there, and it's interesting. Is there's a point in time when they were explaining to me that culture done right over time becomes this thing where not even the CEO can change it. Like it's this
Yeah,
thing that
well, see, other people own it. Now, we're a remote team. We've got people from Florida to Connecticut to California, down into Texas, and all places in between. I'm in New Mexico.
yeah.
And so we've got to bring everybody together, you know, um, in real life, once or twice a year. We have daily meeting, a daily stand up where everybody's invited to kind of share what they're working on.
Hmm.
And then we've got some regular team meetings. So when you're remote, I worry that a lot gets lost, but we're working
Yeah,
on it.
that's good. Yeah, I mean, do you ever see yourself being not remote? Like it's like a business that would stay remote for the most part, correct?
Yeah, at this point, I don't think we'd be non-remote. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What I guess for me, I like what's the future for all this stuff? Because you have a lot of things that come into the realm, right? You have different technology. Like, do you have to compete with stuff that goes, all right, well, there's this idea of I got to lug this stuff around, but I've actually seen, at the airport, I saw at the airport a car seat that would fold up, and then when it folds up, there's wheels in the bottom, a little extending arm comes out, and I can roll it, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I've
oh,
heard about that one. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
like,
generally speaking, sure, there might be some alternatives but I'll tell you the truth. Hotels say they have cribs.
mhm,
Number one, they often don't,
gotcha,
even though they say so. Or they have playpens. And they certainly don't have, and we hear about it, that oftentimes the playpens of the cribs aren't clean.
mm,
And because hotels really don't want to deal with having to do this. Very few of them do.
yeah, that makes
And we
sense.
also hear the same thing about car seats that
Yeah.
are found in rental cars, that they could be grubby. They're not sure that they're safe. And so we really are offering an alternative.
That's smart. Yeah, I mean, because I look at that and I go, how would that be compared? But if like you think about it, that is the truth. Because I know when we used to go places like, we have all these things. You get there, and, like you don't get it, or it's like an hour late, and so it's a headache. But like if I need some at the airport, I need it now. Like I need a car seat, or I can't even get the rental car, and the rental cars they aren't the nicest and the cleanest. And then there is a thing is like, what if they don't let it on the plane? You got to put it in a plastic bag and stick it onto the plane and hope it arrives at a destination. And then yeah, I
Yeah,
like the idea.
and then on top of that, we have over 50,000 items on the platform. Okay.
Oh, I see. Hmm.
And 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 we have all kinds of things. So if you're planning a beach vacation, we probably could rent you beach chairs, umbrella, a cooler,
Yeah.
a wagon, right? So,
Mhm.
or if you're going on a ski vacation, which maybe some people are looking at now, we might rent snowsuits and some other stuff to make it easier.
Yeah.
And we rent toys, and kids love to find a whole new set of toys,
Yeah.
keep them
You ever
occupied.
you ever thinking of marketing to like Airbnb hosts? Because I mean, I just maybe it's a random idea. I'm like, 'cause if I'm going somewhere, it'd be cool to know like they have this stuff there. So like maybe if there's somewhere I could
Yeah,
go, like,
no,
hey,
we,
this would be a good
vacation
thing.
rentals are close to 40% of our business,
Really? See,
because
I like
people are
that. That's
really
smart.
looking at a home experience, and we're starting
Yeah.
to partner with some vacation rental companies, and
Yeah.
they get it, and from a hotel or vacation rental standpoint, happy guests are always what they want.
Mm.
So linking to us so that we could deliver the gear, and many times we're able to get into the room or the house and set it up before the family comes. I
I
mean, I
like
had
it.
this one guy who became an investor who described to me how he two little kids, goes to
Yeah.
a condo, I think it was somewhere in Texas. Everything was set up. He practically cried
Hmm.
telling me the story. Okay, he
That's
teared
awesome.
up. He was so
Yeah.
happy.
Game changer because then it's like it's a one less headache to worry about. It's all done. The
Right.
kids
The
experience.
relief that just floods, that they
Yeah.
don't have to worry about this. And I think that relief is that their babies are going to sleep well. And
Yeah.
that means they're going to sleep well too.
Yeah, exactly.
But a big part of our business too are grandparents. 25 to 30%. And they have these kids. Why should they buy all that gear? The kids grow out of it so fast. Then
Hmm.
they have to store it, rent it from
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, when they're there, like during the holidays, I just left
Yeah.
someone's house in Spokane, Washington. Like the family was there for a week, and it's like, yeah, if, as opposed to storing it all, if I just have it there for a week, like, hey, I can rent it for a week, and then first you take it back. That's pretty good. How does somebody? I get there's background checks, which I think is obviously you have to do it and all that kind of aspect. How easy is it for someone to start this as a business? Is it somewhere they can go like, "Oh, I like this idea, pop on and get a hold of you guys and roll, or is there like a window of time it takes to get kind of caught up to speed and rolling?
No, well, it takes a little bit because we require everybody to go through the training,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
But
smart.
basically, they could go to babyclip.com, find the link to become a quality provider. We outline all the different steps. There's a background check. There's some training. We do personal interviews to see if
Hmm.
people are a good fit.
Yeah.
We do charge $200 to get on the platform, and that's to set them up with the insurance and their website, and we train them on how to upload gear. One of the
Hmm.
things that we do, and it's mostly in the US only, is they could even put on the platform that they have gear that they don't have yet.
Hmm.
And if they get an order, we'll pay them and they
Hmm.
could go and buy the gear and be
Yeah,
ready for that reservation. Because the only piece of gear you really can't get in a day is a full size crib.
that makes sense. Everything else is around. Well, you
Everything
buy
else you could pretty much get.
yeah. Once you
Yeah.
go to, like Target, there's got to be a Target everywhere. You can go there and grab a little
Yeah,
full size
well,
crib.
Target, Walmart, Amazon, of course. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. That makes sense. And so the whole buildup is
And
just,
also, except for car seats, because we
oh,
need to know that the car seat is new or you've been the only user,
yeah,
and that's pretty much a legal thing.
yeah.
You could find some almost new gear on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist.
True.
So
Yeah,
it's
something
not
like
really
that.
hard for, now it helps if the quality provider has some good storage. It helps if they have a car that could fit a crib and all of that. It helps if they're a little bit handy and know how to, use a screwdriver and so on. But no, we've got 1,400. We added a whole bunch, and it made me very happy that we added over 700 last year at a time when a lot of people were quiet quitting or employers were having a hard time finding service people. And I think it's because our quality providers are really having an entrepreneurial experience. They're learning how to be business people.
I agree. It really is. I mean, there's never going to be a shortage of babies. Well, it may be, which would be a bad thing
Well,
anyway.
yeah,
But at the moment, we're good.
yeah,
uh, and then you have
apparently.
people that, and there's a desire, I think, to create new ways for the future. Because I do know I read something maybe 5 years ago. It said in the future, you're not going to have, most people won't have like that same core job retire from. It's like a gig economy. I consistently am doing different things and make revenue that over time may settle into one. So this is kind of an entrance into that world. It really is.
Well, we've got some that are making 10,000 plus a month. On
Wow.
average, I think they're making 1,000. Of course, a little bit more in the summer travel and the
Mhm.
holiday travel season.
Yeah.
And I get so much gratification when some of them, when they hit a milestone, let's say their 100th order or 3 years with BabyClip or something like that,
Yeah.
they'll post in our private community. And our private community is the bomb. I mean, they share ideas, they share deals on gear, they share issues that they've had with their customers, they
Yeah.
share they share brags, look at the big tip I got, but they often share, I've been doing this for 3 years, and because of BabyQuip, I was able to, well, one gal said she was able to leave an abusive relationship.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And my God. But another gal said, I was able to take my own family on a great vacation. And that
Mhm.
that counts too, right?
Yeah. That's cool. It
Yeah.
does. It all matters. In the bigger picture of it all, you're
Yeah.
creating careers, you're creating jobs, you're creating moments for the client. It's one of those win-win-win situations. There's no
I definitely feel so.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I do too. I mean, as a dad, because I'm not a woman, right? There's things that I wouldn't experience, but I do know I've been on trips and I've taken, everybody like to not have to carry all my stuff and their stuff and that would have been a huge easing up on my low back. My
Yeah.
body might have been way
Well,
better.
what's that worth, man? I mean,
Yeah, seriously though, like nowadays it's all beat up, but I mean with twins too. But I like this, man. I'm glad I got to chat with you today. It's actually been fun to unpack this idea that I didn't know existed until I ran into you. Right? I think
right.
it's a
Well, there's
beautiful world.
still lots of innovation, and this is the one I hooked my name to a number of years ago, and it's been really
Yeah.
quite a ride, quite a lot of fun. I work with my son. That's kind of
Oh yeah,
amazing too.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
he's
What
our
do you do?
CTO,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, so he's in charge of our whole technology platform. We've been working together since 2017, so over 5 years now,
Yeah.
and I can't micromanage him. And he calls me Fran,
Yeah.
not mom in the
Yeah.
business
Marco.
context. Sometimes
Yeah.
he forgets to switch to mom in the mom context, but
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool because you get to create something for him. It's my kids. I want to have the same at some point too. I'd like to be able to work with them. Don't know if it'll happen, but the idea of being able to spend because you spend so much time working, like it's your life, and if you can do it with people you care about and love that agree with the same mission you're on,
and
like
people
that's
that
a
you
beautiful thing.
trust. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's a beautiful way to live life. Where can I send people? Last two questions. Where can I send people to get more of this information, or really to find out more about BabyQuip?
Very easy. Babyquip.com. BABYQUIP.
Boom, done, simple. I like it. Last question, and this is a question I ask everybody. Someone asked me one time, and if you're a person of faith, I'll leave it as God. If not, just put it with Creator. But what promise did God or the Creator make to the world when they created you?
Ooh, wow. This girl's going to make some impact.
Mm.
I'm gonna make some impact beyond, and I feel like I'm on that path.
Yeah, you definitely.
Clearly co-founding Match.com created, well, most people would say a lot of good relationships. I'm sure some bad
Yeah,
things potentially have happened,
mhm.
and have an impact on families and other female entrepreneurs. I think is I'm very proud of that.
Yeah,
I'm
you
very
should
proud
be.
of having some impact on female entrepreneurs and others.
Yeah. And a lot of the world, dads, moms, kids, everybody has a good
Yeah,
time, man. It's a win-win-win all across the board. So I appreciate that.
yeah.
That's it. I
Thank
thank
you.
you so very much for joining me, taking the time to do this, and I
Sure.
pray that something amazing comes of this, and I get to hear more about it as it grows, and I can one day go like, "Oh, look at that baby! I know
Yeah,
that
look at that.
brand
Look at
little girl."
that. Well, maybe when
Super.
you're a grandpa. Not too
I
soon,
will be
though.
at some point. I got 3 of them. I'm not in
Yes.
no rush. I'm in no rush for
No
babies,
rush.
but when it
Right.
happens, it'll be cool.
Okay.
Yeah, outside of that, thank you again. Those of you guys who are tuned in, watching us right now, thank you for hanging out with us. If you know somebody who needs to know this information, share BabyQuip and Fran with them, because honestly, it could be the start of something amazing for their life. That could start with you just simply sharing the podcast episode. Outside of that, as always, make the most of your off shift moments. You can make shift happen. It's Anthony Trucks and Fran Maier signing off. Hey, thank you for tuning into the offshift podcast. I pray that we gave something amazing to your life. And if you found this episode served you in some way, I would love if you could share it with people you know, people you love, as well as your community, because you never know who needs that simple little seed that can grow into something amazing for their life. And the actual training doesn't stop here. If you want your free copy of the show notes sent to you after every episode so you can get the major points consolidated down, simply go to textanthony.com and message the word notes. Till next time, make shift happen.